You know Gray Bar for electrical parts. But there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Welcome into the latest episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball, in which I missed the memo that it is flannel day today. Sam Dykstra, Benjamin Hill in New York City. My name is Tyler Mon. Long sleeve. It is August. What is this? 21st. What is the temperature in New York today?
About 41.
Celsius?
Celsius.
Yeah, Celsius, yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, like it's been in the 70s for much of this week, and it's dipping down to the 50s at night.
Really? Okay. That is not happening here.
Yeah, which I haven't independently verified this, but according to what I've read, it's the first time New York City has been in the 50s in August since 2013.
Wow. Man, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I could get used to that. Yeah.
It is very much not the case out here. Although it hasn't been bad out here, but as soon as we signed on to Zoom today, I noticed two things, both in flannels, and Ben got a haircut, and it looks good. Looks very nice, Ben.
I did get a haircut. Thank you. Yeah, I'm fresh and clean, and I'm not wearing the flannel because it got cold. It's just because, just did the laundry yesterday, but hadn't put it away. And this is one of the shirts that I had in the closet that was clean because it's flannel, and I haven't been wearing heavier shirts in the summer. But today, and especially because I'm going on the road soon, I didn't want to wear any of my prime, high quality road trip shirts just on a random day in the office. I got to save those for the road, where I throw them into a bag and take them out wrinkled and realize it's the same, like one of 5 shirts that I've been wearing every road trip for the last decade.
Oh God, how I understand that. I get that way too well. I am delighted to see you both, and welcome into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Ben teased our first topic of the day. He's got a road trip coming up. We are going to dive into that. And as noted, my name is Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra, and Benjamin Hill in New York City. Thanks for hanging out with us on this week's episode of the official podcast of minor league baseball as we get closer to the end of the month of August. I've got another trip to a minor league ballpark coming up this weekend, not for the same sorts of things as Ben, but we'll talk about that a little bit. I'm going to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it is not going to be in the 70s and then overnight in the 50s. Although it's not going to be nearly as bad as it looked like it was going to be. This weekend's like upper 80s, low 90s. Today in Albuquerque, it is 98. So I'm feeling a little grateful that the temperatures are going to be a bit less New Mexico August and a bit more moving toward fall. But Home Run Derby X, second edition of Home Run Derby X is coming up this Friday night in Albuquerque. If you're a Topes fan and you're hearing this, if you're in the Albuquerque area, I think there are still some tickets available. There might be like a handful of tickets left, and you can get those to come on out and hang out with us on Friday. Very exciting cast of characters, including Manny Ramirez, who is going to join Home Run Derby X for the first time coming up on Friday. So we're stoked with that. And this weekend, Ben Hill is hitting the road as well and headed to the great north of the state of Michigan. What's the nickname? What's Michigan's nickname?
The Mitten? I don't know.
It is the
Motor State. Yeah.
The Mitten State. Yeah. Great Lake State, the Wolverine State, I guess makes most sense. All right, Michigan. I thought you had a way cooler nickname. All right, Ben's headed to Michigan. Road trip, the final one of 2024.
Yeah, this is how it goes. This is how it goes every year. It just feels like just yesterday I was trying to keep my anxiety in check as I got back on the road for my first trip of the season. And then bam, one in May, one in June, one in July, one in August. They're all starting to run into each other. And closing it out with this late August jaunt to the 3 minor league teams in Michigan and a couple others. But I'm flying in on Friday morning to Grand Rapids and then driving to the very nearby town of Comstock Park, I believe it is called, where the West Michigan Whitecaps play. LMCU ballpark is what that ballpark is named. I've not been there. since 2013. Like several of these trips, or several of the teams on these trips, I've not been there since 2013. So it's somehow been 11 years. I have some great memories from the first time I went there. There's been a lot of change to the ballpark in recent years. I think still ongoing. They will be playing as the Bunghammers, which I think I've written about in the past, but I kind of forget. It has something to do with beer brewing and putting them in a barrel and using a bung hammer to.
Yeah, it's like the hammer you use to smack the thing into the hole of the keg, right? Or of the barrel.
Yeah, it seals the barrel.
It seals the barrel, essentially, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that's where I was going to say, I guess that's where the term bunghole comes from.
It probably does.
Wouldn't it be? It has to be, right?
Right.
This is not a Beavis and Butthead show, but if it was, now we uncovered the etymology of that word. Anyway, please continue, Ben.
Yeah. And so they're playing as the Bunghammers on August 23rd, West Michigan Whitecaps, and then going to Great Lakes, Midland, Michigan, home of the Great Lakes Loons, the following day on Saturday, August 24th. Once again, my first time there since 2013. Then waking up early in Midland, Michigan on Sunday and making the drive to Toledo for a Sunday afternoon game. 6 years since I've been there, but that's such a great ballpark there. That's like one of the few remaining fifth third fields. West Michigan used to be a fifth third ballpark. I believe Toledo still is, but that'll be a Sunday afternoon game with the Toledo Mud Hens. And then I'll drive up to Lansing. Have a little time to spare in Lansing because there's no games in minor league baseball on Monday. Don't have anything on the agenda, but I will see the Lansing Lugnuts on Tuesday and then down to South Bend to see the South Bend Cubs on Wednesday, which would be July 28th. So those
August
are the 5
28th.
teams. August 28th. See, this is where we are this
Man,
time
I know.
of year.
But I know when you said
Indiana's
July
weird.
28th, I was like, man, it is almost the end of July. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I was like, well, that's Central Time Zone, so that means they're 1 month behind us.
Well, Indiana's that weird state, one of two weird
Right.
states that goes back and forth.
Yeah, they don't have daylight savings time.
Yeah,
Smart.
Yeah, it gets.
but you don't throw yourself back an entire month. Is what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah.
Well, it says you.
Says, oh yeah, you report back.
I don't know the
next week.
specifics, Sam. Let's not go
Yeah.
crazy here. I was just in Indiana last week. I guess I probably could have clarified whether or not it was July there. One thing about that itinerary, Toledo, not in Michigan, but I was once told by an ex-girlfriend who for some reason knew a lot about Toledo despite not being from there. Apparently Michigan and Ohio once fought a war over Toledo. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But back in the 17 or 1800s, there was some sort of armed skirmish between Michigan and Ohio over the city of Toledo.
Wow.
Ben, do some digging.
I gotta dig. American history is fascinating. I mean, there's just so much. I mean,
It is called the Toledo War, according to Michiganology.com. And there is also on Michigan.gov, there is an entire page on the Michigan versus Ohio War for Toledo, which was led by a 22-year-old territorial governor for Michigan, Stevens T. Mason. We shouldn't be putting 22-year-olds in charge of anything, but those are the consequences. So now you got a fun fact when you go to Toledo.
yeah, and they still have that Michigan connection, being a Detroit Tigers affiliate. So at least they got that going for them, even if the state lost out on Toledo. And it's a great town. I'm sorry, Michigan, that you didn't win Toledo in that skirmish, but can't win every skirmish. That's what I always said.
Ben, one other thing about the ballparks that you're visiting, when I think of the West Michigan Whitecaps, I still remember in, I think 2010, 2011, when like half the ballpark caught fire in, I think January, and they had it rebuilt and open for opening day in April.
Yeah, I think that was slightly later than 2011. I think that was after I visited in 2013. So, but it was still about a decade ago. I will have to look it up. But yeah, there was I believe it was like a space heater in a suite.
2014, you were correct.
2014, yeah. And a pretty massive fire, and they got that built back up. I mean, that ballpark also, was one of the comparative few that was built with no public money whatsoever. So they've always been, self-reliant in that term, and it's not the ballpark burned down. Now we have to coordinate with the county or the city or whatever the case may be. They got it done, and that was impressive. And when we did a special theme episode, what was that 2 off seasons ago, about all the renovations taking place at ballparks? We talked to Jim Jarecki the general manager, president of the Whitecaps, about their massive renovations. And so, like I was saying, there's going to be a pretty different ballpark than the one that I vaguely remember from 2013. But that was a great trip. I remember at one point I was involved in some between inning contest, and I had to award a man a plunger. I don't know why. And this guy was like, "Get out of here with that. I have to be around those all day." And he was like some kind of plumber, a real blue collar guy. And I was like, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm just was somehow dispatched
I don't work for the
to
team.
present you with
plunger.
this plumber or this plunger." And then he lightened up, and I signed the handle for some reason. And I still have those pictures. I'll have to dig those up. It was a great memory.
That's pretty awesome. These other stops throughout Michigan and Ohio, what are some of the highlights that you're most excited to see, whether it's promotions or ballparks or everywhere else? South Bend, we've talked about a lot. South Bend has some really cool and fun quirks. They've got the team store out beyond left field, I think, in a historic synagogue building that they converted into being the team store, which is super cool. What else are you excited for on this trip?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to going back into that team store. I did write about that all the way back in 2013. I forget the word for it, but something like desanctified or something like that. It's been whatever processes or rituals or you need to do to make a holy building suitable for secular purposes. They've done that. That synagogue used to be just beyond the outskirts of the ballpark, and when they did renovations, they kind of brought it within the outfield concourse. So that would be cool to see again. I've never been to a game in the South Bend Cubs era. Last time I went back in 2013, they were the Silverhawks still in their penultimate year as the Silverhawks. I believe they became the Cubs in 2015. When I'm going to be in Great Lakes on Saturday, I like The Office. I enjoy it when it's on. I'm not one of those Office heads, but they're having the Office night, and they have how do you say his last name? I should know this before I probably meet him on Saturday. David Ketchner.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Keckner.
Keckner, yeah.
The actor, yeah.
Yeah, he'll be at the ballpark on Saturday, so.
I think about him more from Anchorman, though.
Yeah.
But everything is so Office related now that
especially in minor league promotions.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're in the Office for a hot second.
He is either Todd
we'll
Packer or I don't even remember what his name was in Anchorman. He was the sports guy.
He was the sports guy. Yeah, he was the guy who said whammy all the time. I mean, it would be perfect to have him over the PA, no?
Oh man, how do I not remember his name in Anchorman? There is somebody yelling right now at their radio screen. Champ Kind was his name. Champ Kind.
Wow.
At their podcasting device, they were screaming Champ Kind. Well, Ben,
I'll meet Champ Kind on Saturday.
You'll get to see Champ Kind.
In Midland, Michigan.
I feel like it would really throw, if you're an actor and you're going and it's part of like a promotion for one thing and you're going to talk about Todd Packer and then somebody comes up and they're like, "Can you give me a whammy from Anchorman?" I feel like that really probably throws you off. I have a very one-track ability to be focused on anything, so I think that would throw me off.
Well, that's why he's getting the big bucks appearance fees and we're not.
That is true.
Got to be able to switch on a dime, interact with the fans, give the people what they want. That's what it's all about.
Ben, one thing I wanted to ask about with this trip, and this is, I know my mind is usually on player development at all times, but you were saying that this is your first time to a lot of these parks since 2013. Back then, the Midwest League was at a different level. It was single. It wasn't called single A then. It wasn't called low A. It was Class A.
Class A.
Class A advanced. Now it's single A and high A, but the Midwest League is a high A level now. It is no longer just guys starting out 18, 19 years old. It's sometimes college guys who are 21, 22, or guys just getting called up who are 19, 20. Do you ever notice a difference when you go to a ballpark and it's changed levels like that? Like nothing else about the league has changed. Maybe some names have changed, like Silverhawks to Cubs, but like when the level of play itself has changed, is that something you notice at the ballpark?
Not a ton. It has to be usually in cases where it seems much worse than I remember is the only time that I really make a dent. But with me often not paying too much attention to what's going on in the field in the course of my wanderings and conversations and whatever else I'm doing, that usually is not something I really notice. But yeah, that first game I'm going to in West Michigan, Whitecaps versus the Lake County Captains. So we're going to have Max Clark and
Travis Pizzana.
And I was told that Max Clark only does one like weekly media session, but it happens to be on Fridays. So I think I'm gonna pop in on that, even though I'm not the prospect guy. Sam,
I will feed you questions.
yeah, I think you might have to feed me a few questions. I'm definitely going to ask him, how does it feel to be a bung hammer? Because those are the kind of hard-hitting questions we need to ask of our top prospects, and I'm just the man to do it.
Honestly, Max Clark might be like the perfect guy to ask those questions because he's somebody who's very into Instagram and social media and how he's portrayed, and he's somebody who's like used customized shoes like during when was it? I think it was spring breakout, obviously in the spring, the first initial version of that, which is coming back for 2025. He wore sneakers that had like the tweets of his haters on them. Anybody who criticized him on social media like appeared on his shoes.
I too own a pair of shoes like that. I wear them during this podcast.
I was going to say, is it just all of my personal text?
I was going to say, it's all the things that Sam and Ben say about me.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately you have big feet.
And I deleted Twitter long
one
ago.
Of the things that are on the
but I'm still monitoring it.
But anyway, I don't know. I legitimately would be interested to hear, like, as somebody who is thinking about a lot of different things outside of just baseball the way it is, and in a good way. And I don't mean to say he's distracted. He's had a very good first full season. But yeah, if you could get him on the record about like what it's like to play as a top prospect who has to wear these promotions, that would be kind of interesting.
Yes, I'm gonna go for that, and I'm open for other questions. So yeah, send some along, or actually, yeah, I'll just have you on the line when I'm in the room
holding up my phone.
Yeah,
I'm one of the families of an Olympic member who's just like, you wanted to see.
Yeah, just FaceTime Sam while you're there with Max Clark. Well, Ben, you threw out the word penultimate earlier, which if you could copyright a word, I would think that would be at the top of your list as a Ben's Biz Buzz word.
Really, I would think it would be second to last on this list.
Good one, Sam.
Sometimes I hate this show so much. But
yes,
you noted before we started that we're into teams' penultimate homestands of 2024, which is crazy.
Yeah, I've always liked the word penultimate. I have no recollection of exactly where it started, but I started using it, on Twitter and in my writing, and then encouraging it, and gently chiding teams when they said second to last. And while I'm not credited often, nor do I need to be, it is a joy to me to see throughout the last week just press releases rolling into my inbox from minor league teams that say penultimate homestand. It's become like an industry accepted term, and we are now in penultimate homestand season, which of course means the second to last homestand for a lot of these teams are going on now, or they've just concluded the penultimate homestand or just about to start it. Not so much in AAA because there's a whole nother month in AAA, but everywhere else, if you're not in the penultimate homestand now, you're going to be real soon, and it might already be over. We're broken records, but it always is surreal that we're talking about these things. However you want to phrase it, that we're just talking about the season wrapping up, my final road trip, penultimate homes, the flannel boys doing the podcast together. The seasons are changing.
The autumnal creep is creeping.
That's my nickname for Sam normally.
Yeah.
Like October and beyond. Like, here he comes, the autumnal creep.
I have no comeback for that. That was a good one. I will wear that one like I will wear plaid for the next 5 months.
Well, Ben, what are some of the best promos that we've got coming up? I know my old squad in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, they have a new all-time winningest manager in Pelicans franchise history, Buddy Bailey, who's been there in a couple different iterations, I think, a couple different assignments to Myrtle Beach. But they've got a Buddy Bailey honorific bobblehead coming up.
Yeah, we talked about Buddy Bailey a couple weeks ago in the show when he moved into third place on the all-time managerial wins list. And they just announced, on the promo schedule going into the season, it was like, surprise bobblehead, stay tuned. And that bobblehead on August 31st is a Buddy Bailey win counter bobblehead. So it has a little numbers, a little wheels next to it that you can spin and update it to keep track every day of Buddy Bailey's win total as he goes for that number one spot, which we've talked about before, could happen as soon as 2026 if he stays in the game and keeps at this. So I think that's a pretty cool promotion. It's the second counter promotion that I'm aware of this year. Indianapolis gave away a Paul Skeens strikeout counter bobblehead this season. And I just think that's a cool, I vaguely remember other teams doing it in other years. It's not necessarily a new idea, but I just think that's a cool twist on a bobblehead, is to have a counter on it to keep track of the players' strikeouts or a manager's win totals or whatever the case may be. So I think that's a pretty cool one coming up, not this week, but next week. In the immediate future, this is something we've talked about quite a few times in various permutations over the years, but what are we if not broken records? But it's coming around again Friday, the same day this podcast comes out, the same day I go to West Michigan to ask Max Clark about bung hammers. Elsewhere, Manchester, New Hampshire, the Fisher Cats are playing as the primaries, because they do this every election year. They play a game as the primaries. And as we've talked about in this show, but in case you need a refresher, when that team had their name, the team contest, blah, 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 they announced initially that they would be full-time known as the primaries, celebrating New Hampshire's, first in the nation primary status for the presidential primaries. And then there was a lot of public uproar. Teams over the decades learned to say all publicity is good publicity and ride with that initial negative wave. But, back about 20 years ago, when the New Hampshire new team in Manchester said, we're going to be the primaries, they were like, oh no, we don't want to offend you. And they changed the name of the Fisher Cats because everyone loves a Fisher Cat. Everyone loves a nocturnal animal who kills pets. But, hey, better than politics, am I right? But it's cool that they go back with that. It's got a donkey on the right or on the left sleeve, an elephant on the right sleeve, red, white, and blue jerseys. It's a pretty cool look. Sam, I believe you have some primaries gear. I feel like haven't I seen you wear a hat or a shirt?
I do have a hat. It's an Uncle Sam hat.
Yeah, the
where Uncle Sam is like the state of New Hampshire is behind him. He's pointing out. I mean, come on now.
He's calling a shot.
Yeah, he's calling a shot. I have two nieces and a nephew. Anything Uncle Sam related, I will probably purchase just for that. Because it's the closest I will get to be appearing on a minor league hat. So I do have that. I don't have like the donkey hat or the elephant hat that I know exists out there.
Uncle Sam is a much better nickname than the autumnal creep.
Yes, it is. So let's use that one moving forward, please. Eh?
Yeah, please continue, Ben.
Well, also on Saturday, also in the Eastern League, but further north, and your friend and mine, Josh Jackson, will be attending this game. Portland Sea Dogs playing as the Lobster Bakes for the first time ever. Have we talked about this on the show? Again, I feel like we've talked about everything.
We might have.
I feel
like we've touched on their other food related things, like
that's the funny
suppas,
thing.
But
yeah, they have the clam bakes from other years. They had whoopie pies. They had bean suppas. They had red snappers for like a hot dog or a regional hot dog. So they went through 4 regional identities in Maine before getting to lobsters.
I mean, you've been to Maine. We've all been to Maine. Tyler, have you been to Maine?
I have been to Maine.
You've been to Maine.
Yeah.
It's a culinary feast up there. I mean,
yeah, it is pretty amazing.
They do seafood exceptionally well. And then the fact that they have their own version of a hot dog, the red snapper, which every time I see one, it's brighter red than I expect. It is like red crayon red. It's incredible. And then the bean suppas, I mean, it's just fun to say, but also that is a thing that actually exists. I don't know. I appreciate that they lean into everything that they have.
Me too. And defying expectations, because you think if a team in Maine is going to do a food related identity, it's going to be lobsters, and they held off.
I was going to say it's going to be Moxie, but I don't know if everybody knows what Moxie is.
Yeah, that's you
never had Moxie.
I do not.
It's a soda. It tastes medicinal. I don't understand how people drink it.
Is it? Did it come after? Like when people say, "Nah, I like that Moxie."
I think that is
after that, or is that the inspiration of it?
I don't know.
Got a lot of Moxie. It's got some Moxie.
This is a good etymology themed episode.
Yeah, really.
Before the show, I just learned that the baseball term "double headers" is train terminology for a steam engine that had a dual, like 2
Like back-to-back engines at the front of it?
Back-to-back engines at the front of it, and they were called double headers. And since early baseball was that's where double headers came from.
I did not know that either. Between that and the Yard Goats, there's all kinds of rail-themed names that I would never have known otherwise. Ben, there is one promo coming up, which I'm very excited about, and I know Sam is very excited about. We actually talked about earlier this year. A person who I did not know hailed from a minor league community is John Goodman. John Goodman he was actually born in Afton, Missouri, but the Springfield Cardinals are going to be honoring native son John Goodman, who will be in attendance, get a chance to be in attendance, or are they just honoring John Goodman with the bobblehead? What's going on John Goodman night in Springfield?
I'm not sure if he's going to be at the ballpark or not. This is another one we talked about at the beginning of the season. But he's a longtime St. Louis Cardinals fan and also a Springfield Cardinals fan. He's definitely been at that ballpark before. Sam just Googled Springfield John Goodman, and I am one of the I am the top result. And yet here I am still struggling a little bit. I don't think he will be there. It's not
Afton is just outside of St. Louis, by the way. It's about a 3-hour drive from Springfield. I don't want any Missourians to come at me. I don't know a lot about Missouri geography. I know St. Louis is on one side, Kansas City's on the other. I don't know. Columbia's in the middle somewhere. I don't know a lot elsewhere. I'm sorry, Missouri. But I wanted to get it right. Afton, just outside of St. Louis, is in St. Louis County, but Springfield's about 3 hours southwest of there.
Well, there you have it. He's a Missouri guy, Cardinals fan, and he's certainly been at Springfield Cardinals games in the past, sporting Springfield Cardinals hats. Does not look like John Goodman will be there, but on Saturday, August 24th, the Springfield Cardinals John Goodman bobblehead. That is another really good one. And Sam's looking at the team's Facebook listing now. Get in line early, it says, and I would agree. I've not been to Springfield for a long time, but I remember the one time I went there, they were giving away a bobblehead. Huge lines out front. They love their bobbleheads in Springfield.
They're only giving away 2,000, so that's why I would recommend getting there early. I mean, not to say that they should be giving out more. I know these things are expensive, and you want to encourage people to get to the ballpark early and all that kind of stuff. So limited supplies happen, but like, man, this is going to be, I don't know. I could see this being kind of a cult status on the minor league collectible circuit.
Yeah, this would be a great one to have. I mean, I'm not going to seek it out later, but it was one that if it came into my possession, I'd keep, as opposed to putting on a coworker's desk. Like, you want this?
All the stuff that Ben pawns off on me.
Yeah.
Just looking at a map of Missouri, there is a California, Missouri, and a Nevada, Missouri, and that seems really confusing. Ben, what else is coming up? It's, really, we're getting down to the end of things for this 2024 regular season, and of course, promos sort of go into mothballs for the postseason in minor league baseball. But anything else you want to highlight for this final stretch of the regular season this year?
I think we're good. I mean, we'll have a little more to talk about down the line, just especially with AAA trickling well into September. So we'll get back to some promos. I think that's about all I had for right now. We can always talk about our friends at Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. August 27th is Mustache Headshots theme, where they just are adding a mustache to every player. So, hey, sometimes it doesn't take much. Tyler, your photo would require no doctoring whatsoever.
I was going to say, as a guy who has recently decided to go mustachioed for a little while, I approve of that.
So you're bringing that with you? You're bringing the mustache with you to New Mexico?
Yeah. I think I am. I think I'm going with it.
You gonna fit that in the carry-on, or
because the alternative right now? Yeah, I'm not gonna check it. It's that's a pain. I don't need to go to Mustache Claim to try to pick it up when I get there. The alternative is I go like clean shaven. I haven't been clean shaven since like the mid 2010s. I'm sure as heck not doing that. So yeah, it's going to be like, if you see me at Isotopes Park on Friday night, you can roast my mustache. You can make fun.
And we encourage you to do so.
Take it from the autumnal creep himself, Sam Dykstra. All right, we are going to step aside for a timeout, but Sam has our interview this week, an in-person interview. Sam got to go to Brooklyn, to the home of the Brooklyn Cyclones, for a conversation this week. Sam, tee it up for us.
Yeah, I traveled very far to go get this interview right down the F line from my home.
I take the cue, Sam.
This is what divides us, is how we get to Coney Island. But Ben, speaking about penultimate homestands, our local Brooklyn Cyclones are in their penultimate homestand this week. So I wanted to get down to Coney Island one last time before the summer is out. And they just happen to be hosting the Jersey Shore Blue Claws, which works out pretty well because the Blue Claws have the top prospect in the Phillies system. That is number 29 overall prospect, Aidan Miller. First round pick by the Phils last year, 27th overall, has had basically a breakout season. A lot of scouts and evaluators really believed in him coming into the year. He was certainly on our top 100 radar, but he's jumped past Andrew Painter, who hasn't pitched all year because of Tommy John surgery. He was somebody who was a little bit injured during his senior year of high school. So we'll get into that and what it's like dealing with that as you're getting ready for the draft. But ever since, he's really shown out pretty well. Starting at single A Clearwater, was promoted to high A Jersey Shore. It looks like that's where he's going to end out the year. Just turned 20 on June 9th. Really solid shortstop, promising power, strong arm. A lot of fun pieces there for Aidan Miller. So this is me chatting with him at Coney Island. All right, Aidan, I feel like we're getting you at a good time. You're on a 7-game hitting streak. What's kind of locked in this last week and a half or so?
Yeah, I think everything's kind of clicking right now. I went through a tough stretch. Just things weren't feeling right. Couldn't catch a break, and was kind of scuffling all over the place. And it's finally, I'm finally starting to settle in now, I think, and kind of back to myself, back to where I was in Clearwater, and just feeling good all around.
When you say things weren't feeling right, what was that?
Yeah, I think I was just trying to press a little bit too much. Kind of got away from who I was, my identity at the plate, trying to do too many things instead of just getting out there and compete and be an athlete, which, when I do that, I feel like that's when I'm in a good spot. So, I just got away from myself, and, I think I'm kind of back to where I am and, feeling good. So,
are there specific adjustments you make to get back to yourself? Do you watch video? Do you work in the cage on specific things? How does that go about?
Yeah, I think I got into a little rabbit hole of watching too much video, trying to figure out, what was going wrong. Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And, I think it just wasn't just healthy. And I think really the biggest adjustment was going out there and just playing, just trusting my ability, just being an athlete. And, when I kind of started thinking like that, everything started clicking. So, yeah, taking a lot more pressure off myself, getting comfortable and just going out there and being myself. I think that's the biggest adjustment.
Yeah, when you talk about that pressure, does that come from being promoted and moving up to IA?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of things. Looking at too many things on social media, getting promoted, part of my first year. So a lot of the, just being, not comfortable yet. There's a lot of things mixed up and kind of got away from who I was. And, that was pretty much it.
Was there one moment where it felt like it was clicking and you were back to your regular self?
I think there was a BP one day before one of our home games, and took a couple swings, and I was like, oh yeah, that feels right, kind of feels like myself. And me and Adam Lim were laughing at each other because he's our hitting coach, and I was like, I might be back, feeling good. So there was a BP, I took a couple swings, I was like, okay, that feels right, it kind of feels like, who I am. So yeah, I took one swing, one BP round, and then carried into the game, and then carried over a week or two of hits and good games, and just felt good again.
Do you remember when that was, roughly?
It was after the All-Star break, I know that. Yeah, I kind of went home to the All-Star break, reset a little bit, hit with my hitting coach back home, and kind of felt at home again and just got back to who I was. So I think it was really, taking some time off during the All-Star break and just getting back to myself, and that's kind of when it clicked.
Yeah, when you say getting back to myself, how do you describe that?
Just being an athlete in the box, I always joke and say I started wearing short pants, and as soon as I did that, I started hitting again. So, I kind of owe my credit to the short pants, so I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, I like that description a lot. You talked about the All-Star break. One of the things you got to do this year was participate in the Futures game. What was your takeaway from that experience?
That was awesome. That was such a cool experience, being around the best of the game, the minor leagues, and our incredible coaching staff as well. I got to learn from so many guys, and I was only there for like a day and a half, but it felt like weeks. I learned so much information, and I was there with my buddy Crawford as well, which is cool. Played with him a little bit up here in Jersey, and I kind of got to, ask him questions and see what it was like because he was there the year before, and he was a great help to me at what to expect. It was just so fun. My family was there to watch. My friends came out, and it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Besides Justin, was there anybody you gravitated towards specifically?
Yeah, I'd say Bryce Eldridge. He's been my buddy. We played USA together a couple years, and me and him get along really well. So it was fun being on the same team as him, and we talked a lot. I got to catch up because I didn't see him in a while. So it was fun getting to hang out with him again.
What was your reaction being hit by a pitch in that game? Because I'm sure you want to swing, you want to show off what you can do, and then you get an RBI, but
I tried to say it didn't hit me, so I can hit, but the umpire heard it, so he said go to first base. But no, it was good. I got an RBI, helped the team get a run across, and I guess I did my job. So I'd like to swing it in that situation, but I tried to get it out of the way, just happened to hit my foot.
Yeah, what did it mean to start in that game and to see your name on the sheet at shortstop first?
It was so cool. As when I got drafted, there was a lot of uncertainty where I'd play in the field, and as soon as I got to the Phillies, they said I was going to be a shortstop. So, being a shortstop in the Futures game, starting there, just meant so much to me because of all the work I've put in over there. And so many people have said I can't play there, I won't stick there, and I think I've just used that as motivation and used it as a chip on my shoulder. So to start in that game at shortstop mean a lot to me.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I mean, a lot of people thought you were going to eventually move over to third base, but it's been all shortstop this year. What do you feel like you've done to kind of lock down that position, at least this point in your career?
Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs over there, just learning the position. But, I think it's because of my bigger frame. Everybody thought I'd be a corner, third base or corner outfield. And you never know, down the road that might be the case. But for now, it's at shortstop. And, just playing more games there, getting more reps, and just getting my feet whatever there, I think it's helped so much. I think I've always had pretty good hands and good feet, just good feel for the game all around. And I like being involved in the field as much as I can. And, at shortstop, it seems like you're moving around every single pitch. So, an incredible help to me has been Aidan Miller. He's our infield coordinator here with the Phillies. And he's really like a relatable guy because he was kind of in my shoes. And people said he couldn't play over there as well. And he's been in my corner and supported me the whole way. And for him to believe in me as much as he does, and that means a lot to me. So
yeah, is there a specific type of play you feel like you're making more as the season's gone along?
Yeah, I think the slow rollers. I think I've always been pretty good at slow rollers, just being at third base, kind of, that's one of the main plays you have. But I think really just like slowing the game down though altogether on every play, realizing how much time you have, really mastering that internal clock, and knowing when you need to let it loose and when you can take some off, and just overall just like playing. I feel like every day I'm learning so much over there, and there's a play you never had before every day, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and going back to your time at the Futures game, you have some experience in that environment with the All-Star or the All-American game. You won MVP, participated in the Home Run Derby. How much were you relying on that, and how much did you kind of recall that experience when you're going through this stuff?
That was cool. That was a big thing. I was a junior in high school, and getting to hit in the Home Run Derby in front of 50,000 fans in Dodger Stadium. I was super nervous, but I think it's really prepared me for pro ball and those bigger situations because I went through it at such a young age. So. That was kind of a similar experience, kind of reminded me of the Futures game, and the same kind of feel, some similar guys there with Max and Bryce, and it reminded me a lot of the All-American game, and just getting to play in that, and last year, 2 years ago, and then getting to play the Futures game this year was just like super cool. So.
Is there any times you step up here, like even in high A, you're just like, oh, this is a new level, but it's not Dodger Stadium?
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think anything could top that until I make it to the major leagues. But no, that was such a cool experience. But even like stadiums like this get good crowds, and back home in Jersey we get good crowds as well. So I feel like I play better with bigger crowds, and being in that spotlight, I think it brings more out of me. So
gotcha. And just to go back to your draft experience, obviously coming off that All-American game, a lot of eyes were on you that spring, and then you suffered the hamate. What was your first reaction when that was happening? Did you immediately think of the draft, or were you thinking about other things? Like what happened?
Yeah, that was tough. I think the first thought that came in my head was like, dang, I'm not gonna get a shot at the state championship. We had a pretty good team that year. One of my buddies, Trevor Harrison, got drafted to the Rays this year. He was on that team. He was our ace. So I thought we had a pretty good squad. A lot of my buddies I grew up with playing, so it was kind of our last ride together. And then to go down my first game, breaking my handmate just kind of stunk. So, it was a tough couple weeks. Hearing that news and not knowing you're not going to play the rest of the year stunk. But I think my biggest focus was just getting healthy and proving to scouts that I was healthy when I got healthy. Doing private workouts, flying out to stadiums, taking BP, taking ground balls, and I think by like April, June, I felt pretty good, May, June, and just started preparing for the draft. I kind of knew it would hurt my stock a little bit, but I just tried to control the things I could control, which was getting healthy and just trying to get back out there playing as fast as possible.
Were the Phillies one of the teams you got to work out with?
Oh, no, believe it or not, I didn't talk to them at all. Yeah,
really?
We didn't have, I think I had maybe one phone conversation with them early on in high school, but, going into draft night, I thought there was no chance I'd go to Philly. just because we didn't really have any talks, no pre-draft meetings at the combine, anything like that. So it was a big surprise for me and my family. But I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, when did you find out? I'm guessing it was your agent who called.
Pick 26, I found out.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it was right before the pick. I knew my agent called me and said, "Hey, the Phillies are taking you right here," and it was really cool. So.
Yeah, and what was their explanation when they took you? Like as you were starting to get included in the system, those first couple days, like if you weren't aware of their interests.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing was, what kind of hurt me in the draft was the injury and then my age. I was 19, 19 in 1 month, so a lot of that's a draft model bust, they say. So the Phillies didn't care. They saw me play that junior summer. They liked my bat, and they liked the player I was. They didn't care about all the concerns and all that stuff, and they wanted to take the player that I was. So it meant a lot hearing that, and I knew that they really liked me going into it. So having that connection where you're going to a team who really likes you and you like them, it fit really well.
Yeah, is there anything you've learned about the organization that makes it a particularly good fit in terms of hitting philosophy or development philosophy?
Yeah, I think all around. It's a really individual-based development, I'd say. So there's not one way to do things, which I really appreciate, because I have a lot of weird things I do at the plate, or just like in general. I think every player and every hitter is different, and you can't teach hitting the same exact way. So I've been really appreciative that they've been kind of individualized, kind of let me do my own thing and make adjustments here and there. But no, it's been great. Everybody I've ran into in the organization has been incredible, such a good help to me, and they all want the best for me. So I couldn't be happier where I'm at.
Yeah, what would you say is a weird thing you do at the plate?
I kind of have a hitch, they say. It's kind of a little calmed down naturally over time, but going into the draft, there was another big thing. Like, hey, he's got a big hitch. Who knows if it's going to work against higher velo? And one of the things I really wanted to make sure this year was to be on time for the heater, and I think that was one of the things that kind of started to tone down a little bit. Just getting a more consistent, more natural swing and or load. And I think that's been a great help to me this year.
And you were talking about being a draft model breaker in that way. Is that kind of a chip you have? I mean, on your shoulder as your first round pick? Like, you still were picked pretty high, but 26 teams didn't really see much of you in that spring. Is that something you still think about? Or
at first it was, for sure. And then you start thinking about it. It's like you can't really blame them, because nobody saw me play for almost a year. So it's like they can't draft what they don't know. But it's definitely something I've used as motivation, knowing I could have gone higher in the draft, and I think that's always on my mind when I'm out there playing every day. So.
And being a Florida guy, what was it like just playing in Clearwater the first half of the year? Did you have family coming all the time, or constant ticket requests?
Yeah, I think every single game I had 10 tickets, friends, family, people. Yeah, it was really cool. My first couple of games in professional baseball, having my whole family and friends come watch, was kind of a dream come true. So I think it really helped me adjust to pro ball as well, being so close to home and just a phone call away, and getting dinner at home on the weekends, and still being around my family kind of helped me adjust to pro ball and be comfortable with it. So yeah, it was a great couple months, but I'm glad I'm on my own now and can do my thing up here in Jersey. So
yeah, I was gonna say, what's the biggest transition from going from Clearwater? It's your first adult job really out of high school, but now you're miles and miles and miles away.
I think just living on my own, making my own food, doing laundry for the first time. That's been a learning curve for me, but no, it's been fun. It's been fun living on my own and being an adult for the first time.
Yeah, there you go. And Jersey Shore, not that far from Philly. What have you learned just about Philly culture and how much they care about that team, and just being that close?
Yeah, when I knew a little bit about it, and then I think the first taste I got was when I went up there and signed in Philly. Got to watch a couple of games. I think they were playing the Padres, and just seeing that crowd every single day, and how insured they were every single pitch, and just seeing how crazy they are for Philly baseball, just gave me goosebumps thinking about. So yeah, and that's my dream, is to play at Citizens Bank Park in front of all those fans, and they're so passionate and they want everybody to do well, and it's an incredible fan base. So I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah. Do you have a cheesesteak order yet? Nailed down?
I went to what's the place called? We went to a bunch of places in Philly, and I think I had way too many cheesesteaks when I was up there signing. Right. So no, but they're good. Just a regular, just cheese, steak and cheese is what I get. So
with onions or without?
With onions.
With onions. All right, there you go. All right, that's all I have for you.
All right.
Thanks so much for doing this.
No,
I really
of course.
appreciate it.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of your season. interrupt this podcast to bring you another thrilling edition of Ghosts of the Miners. Now, here's your correspondent and host, Joshua Jackson.
Welcome back to Ghosts of the Miners, in which all of you out there in Radio Land must identify the legitimate historical ball club or player hiding amidst the fraudulent pair. One once put it all on the line on the field. The others left it all to imagination. In the last segment, I asked you which of the following minor league baseball players did at one time exist. A. Dante Hanks. B. Ovid Nicholson. C. Socrates Cruz. You roamed into the right answer if you picked B. Ovid Nicholson, who, like his Roman poet namesake, will be studied by those interested in the classics for centuries to come. Old Ovid Nicholson nicked 111 bases in one minor league season, just 123 games, setting a record that's gone down in history. It was a mark that stood for over 50 years. And Ovid was an Ovid that stood for over 15 years in pro ball. An epic career, although he played in just 9 seasons in that span. He took the field for many teams in many leagues. Ovid was really roaming around. The first was the Kansas State League in 1910, when Nicholson noticed an advertisement in the Sporting News, or so the story goes. In fact, the story of the Sporting News ad attracting Ovid appeared in the Sporting News. Reporting on Nicholson's death in 1968, the baseball paper of record of the time relayed, "An advertisement in a 1910 issue of the Sporting News launched Nicholson on his baseball career. He saw the ad seeking players for Great Bend of the Kansas State League, and although he had virtually no experience, he was able to make the club. He was able to do a great deal more than that. It was only 2 years later that Ovid metamorphosed his way into thief extraordinaire, stealing 111 bags with the Frankfurt Statesman and also scoring an improbable 128 runs, 5 more than the number of games he played. With such an astonishing third year in pro baseball, even though it was way down in the Bluegrass League, it was perhaps inevitable that the oral tradition, that is, word of mouth, would bring Ovid to the majors. And it did, that very year. In September of 1912, Nicholson appeared in 6 games for the Pittsburgh Pirates, getting his first start in the second game of a doubleheader in Boston. The Braves' lefty Tyler shut down the Bucks' bats that day, with just 2 Pittsburgh hitters recording knocks, Honus Wagner and Ovid Nicholson. But the next year, Nicholson was back in the minors, where he stayed for the rest of his career. Ovid's accomplishments did get him a spot in written history in the form of a Sabre bio. It cites a Topeka State Journal item in suggesting that it was mainly Nicholson's attitude or disposition that kept him from catching on in the bigs. He played steadily through 1917, and in January of 1918, his hometown paper, the Salem, Indiana Republican Leader, reported, "The announcement of the marriage of Mr. Ovid Nicholson to Miss Nell Donica will come as a surprise to their many friends here." And life had more surprises in store. That spring, Nicholson was slated to join a ball club out in Spokane, but in 1918, the U.S. was becoming heavily involved in the Great War, and Nicholson instead spent the season in the Army. He was discharged and home by December with a job lined up at Nash Motor Works in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That was the end of Ovid's playing career, except that he was hired to manage the Ludington, Michigan Cars of the Central League in 1926. That Central League merged with the Michigan-Ontario League to form the Michigan State League 24 games into the season, but Nicholson seems to have gone back to Kenosha at year's end. And that's how the mythology on Ovid Nicholson was passed down. Now, on to the question for next time. Which of these teams soaked it all up in the minors of yesteryear? A. The Fieldale Towlers. B. The Pottsville Napkins. C. The Portage Dryops. Want to know the answer? Don't spill. Or tune in to the next Goes to the Minors. But for now, you'll have to excuse me. My producer Ben Hill is about to do a high dive, and I've got to fill the pool.
Saying goodbye on this week's episode of the show before the show. Big thanks to Josh Jackson for stopping by. We got some big plans for Ghosts of the Minors coming up. Just stay tuned to Ghosts of the Minors as we approach the 2024-25 offseason. And before we get out of here, it is time for this week's episode of Name That Dude. Name That Dude. We still don't have a song for it.
Is that the tune of Meet the Mets? Name that dude.
It was close. Name that dude.
That dude.
Name that dude. Put you in a good mood. Right, I don't know.
And guess the dude.
All right, I am the dude knower. We all are acting like three guys who have not slept in like a week today. I don't know why. There's a lot of delirium on this week's episode. And I like
a long season, Tyler.
Yeah,
it has been. It has been, especially for you guys who actually do work. I've just like been sitting around my house playing college football 25 for the last month. Speaking of which, we do have some programming notes. Next week, Final Home Run Derby X in Nashville. You can find tickets for that. That one might be already sold out, but you can check out the Nashville Sounds. You can try to get tickets for that. The following week, and for 2 weeks after, I'm going to be in mainland China for the U23 Baseball World Cup. I have no idea how we're going to do the show. So stay tuned. I don't know what's accessible on the internet and what's not. Is Zoom going to work? Will we record? Will you hear from me on the show before the show podcast as the regular season comes to a close? Who knows? Stay with us.
And who knows what month it is there. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like if in Indiana it's still July, you go across the date line. Like who knows? It might be in the future. It might be 1960. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. Okay, so this week on Name That Dude, I am the dude knower, and you are the dude guessers. Are you ready for your assignment?
Ready as we'll ever be.
Haircutted and coiffed Ben Hill and the autumnal creep. Let's dive in then. This dude was originally drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays in the 20th round of the 1989 MLB June Amateur Draft, according to Baseball Reference, drafted from the University of California, Berkeley, which you might know as Cal. You might be one of those people who calls it Berkeley. They, as an athletic department, want to go by California now. That's their whole big thing. And nothing says Atlantic Coast Conference like the Cal Bears. So he is a Cal product. He made his professional debut in the New York Penn League with the St. Catharines Blue Jays back in 1989 in St. Catharines,
I think that's
Ontario.
The first time we've ever mentioned the St. Catharines Blue Jays on the show.
Who also, the St. Catharines Blue Jays became another team that had logo of a guy. Weren't they the Stompers? Wasn't that the name of that team for a little while?
Yeah, I remember.
There was a minor league. Oh, they were. Okay. 1995, they were renamed the St. Catharines Stompers. They had a very weird logo of like a guy who was grape stomping. It's a reference to winemaking, but the logo is just like this big, a dude with his big foot who was getting ready to stomp down on some grapes. It was a little odd. I saw a St. Catharines Stompers hat at like a thrift store last year, and I was like, if this was in my size, I would probably buy it. Anyway, that has nothing to do with this dude. But if you get a chance to look up the St. Catharines Stompers logo, it's really something. So
they were the Blue Jays from 86 to 94 and the Stompers from 95 to 99. But for almost all of that time, they were a Blue Jays affiliate.
And they were in 1989 when this dude made his debut. The following year, he moved up to High A Dunedin in the Florida State League. Then he was with the Knoxville Blue Jays in the Double-A Southern League in 1991. And in 1992, he finally cracked the big leagues. He made his major league debut in 1992 with those Toronto Blue Jays, but that was not the only team that he played for that year. He also spent time with the New York Mets, and then proceeded to spend the 93, 94, and 95 seasons with the Mets. In 1996, he played with the Mets and was traded to Cleveland. And then in 1997, moved to the San Francisco Giants, later finishing his career sometime with the Houston Astros, sometime with the Los Angeles Dodgers toward the end. I have not given you an indication of whether he is a pitcher or a position player as of yet. Do you dudes have any initial thoughts, or should we dive a little deeper? After he made his major league debut, he only played 3 minor league games ever again just on rehab with the Round Rock Express in 2003. Appeared in 3 games.
Sounds like a pitcher to me, but I could be wrong. Actually, no, if he played in 3 games on a rehab, then
Yeah, that would be a long rehab for a pitcher.
Yeah, it was just one rehab.
Could be coming back from Tommy John. Could be building up the pitch count. You never know.
True. It's true.
I'm not leading in one way or the other.
He was on those atrocious Mets teams of the
mid-90s.
Yeah, the Saberhagen Coleman years.
What were the
Rockies legend Brett Saberhagen?
Yeah.
1995 trade deadline acquisition Brett Saberhagen. Anyway.
All right, so what were his Giants years again?
His Giants years were 1997 through 2002. It's a key period in Giants history.
Yeah.
And he was I don't know if I want to give that away yet. This one, when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. But I honestly, looking back, I had forgotten that he played for this many teams.
Rich Aurelia comes to mind.
That's a good guess, but no. Rich Aurelia, by the way, was with the Giants from 95 through 03. So he spanned the entire time of this player's career with the Giants. And then he was back with the Giants in 07, 08, and 09.
Yeah.
Man, Rich Aurelia was a good player.
I'm in the right era, I guess. It's just it's a lot of the other details I'm getting wrong.
Yeah, Edgardo Alfonso popped into my mind, but he was later. He was like a bit later.
Another good one.
Did he play for the Giants at all?
Shares some.
No, he wouldn't have played that many years. So never mind. That was a bad joke.
Edgardo Alfonso shares the Mets ties with this player, and he was on the Giants, but just after this player left the Giants, which might give you a little bit of a key as to who this player is.
How long was this guy with the Dodgers?
He was with the Dodgers for the final 4 seasons of his career. 2005 through 2008. It is Jeff Kent.
Yeah.
Sam got it. Jeff Kent. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I know exactly why I thought of Jeff Kent. It's because we were talking about mustaches. That was the reason why I thought of Jeff Kent. Jeff Kent, who famously fell off of his truck while washing it and was placed on what was then known as the disabled list, now the injured list. That's the one thing I remember about Jeff Kent. The other thing, he and Barry Bonds, they like came to blows in the dugout once, and they just always seemed to be on the verge of ripping each other's heads off, which was like very entertaining for being somebody who watched a lot of National League West baseball at the time. But man, Jeff Kent, that dude was a monster for a little while. In 2000, Jeff Kent played in 159 games for the Giants, batted .334, .425, .596 with 33 homers and 125 driven in for a .1021 OPS. And that's 2000 in San Francisco. I mean, not as though like, oh, it's a launching pad there in San Francisco now, but 2000 I think was still Candlestick, right?
Yeah, that would have been.
So anyway, Jeff Kent, mustache, all the rest.
Jeff Kent also on Survivor.
He's the one. Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I did not know that, actually.
So there are some people out there who might, I hope if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you would know Jeff Kent as like the borderline Hall of Famer second baseman. But yeah, Jeff Kent.
I'm a little disappointed. Oh, thank goodness. They did put in. Oh, okay. Here's something I had completely forgotten. In 2002, quote, the Giants front office had lost confidence in Kent after an incident during spring training left him with a broken wrist. Kent had initially claimed that he had broken his wrist after slipping and falling while washing his truck. I forgot this part. Ensuing media reports indicated that in reality, Kent had crashed his motorcycle while performing wheelies and other stunts in direct violation of his contract. Forgot about that part. But Jeff Kent, he is this week's dude. And 17 big league seasons for Jeff Kent. Crazy.
Yeah, like most of these, it seems so obvious in retrospect. I was thinking too, like I watched the Mets a decent amount during those years as a Phillies fan, but Jeff Kent, yeah, he really made a name for himself in the Giants. I should have been thinking more San Francisco than New York.
And like he had 2 really good seasons with the Astros, 03 and 04. He was really good with the Dodgers. 05 through, I mean, really through the end of his career. 2008, he's still OPS 745, like not a bad season for a 40-year-old guy. as I say, approaching my 40th birthday next year. Not a bad season for an ancient, old, desiccated bag of bones at 40. Yeah, Jeff Kent on this week's episode of the show before the show. Ben had a dude teed up, so he's going to hold that dude for next week. And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. Ben, travel safe. Enjoy. Where do you fly into?
Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Got a direct flight. It's at Gerald Ford International
okay.
Airport. You know, he grew up in Grand Rapids. The Whitecaps recently did a promo related to him, a bobblehead on the 50th anniversary of his inauguration. And when I was looking up Gerald Ford in relation to that promo, I learned that he was born Leslie Lynch King Jr.
What?
But his name as the president was Gerald Rudolph Ford. I was like, whoa, he had a whole different name. True story.
On Earth?
Yeah, look it up. Instead of me acting like I know more about it, but basically he had a father who was
interesting.
Yeah. Who was abusive and abandoned the family.
Wow.
Was the name of his stepfather. And somehow they didn't just change his last name to Ford. They made Rudolph instead of Leslie Lynch King Jr.
That is pretty amazing. When he was in his 20s, it became official in 1935. That is fascinating. I did not know that about Gerald Ford. Also, born in Omaha, Nebraska, spent a lot of time in Michigan, obviously played his college football at the University of Michigan. But what we know him best from, Ben, I'm assuming I can speak for you in this as well, is the Two Bad Neighbors episode of The Simpsons in which he and Homer go watch football and eat nachos. That's all I remember Gerald Ford from as my introduction to him and his legacy in my life.
Well, flying into the Grand Rapids airport, as I wander through the terminal looking for the rental car counter, I'm going to pick up as many stray Gerald Ford facts as I can, and I'll bring them back to you and all the listeners.
Hi, Homer. Do you like football? Do you like nachos? All right, that'll do it for this week's episode of the show before the show. For Benjamin Hill, Sam Dykstra, Josh Jackson, and all the rest, my name is Tyler Baum. We'll talk to you next week.